Welcome back, Truth Seekers. This is Athanasius on the weekly Athanasius Report, and I am glad to be back, especially after the ruckus that was this week. I got caught up in the pathway of Hurricane Hermione, and so it's been kind of fun the last few days cleaning up after that storm blew through here. We're good, we're safe, we have power, we have water, and we just got internet back, I think, late yesterday, so yay on that. But I know that there's a lot of people that are still without power, without water in the area. So hopefully they'll be able to get that back up soon. Kind of funny in a way if you think about it, how we take all these services for granted, and yet all it takes is one really good storm, and suddenly we're without the comforts of life, if you will. So just remember that, ladies and gentlemen, that it's never a good idea to put your faith in the workings of man. That it's always that there's always going to be something that's going to cause the workings of man to collapse and fumble, and then you're left without air conditioning, electricity, or any of the other necessities that help make life just a little bit better. So, with that in mind, let's go ahead and get this show kicked off. First, let's give a shout out to now Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta. This woman was a true living saint in her day. And what amazes me is that the level of hatred coming from the left against this woman, well, maybe amazes isn't the right word, because nothing really amazes me about how far off the deep end the left is, and how much they can just hate one person who, by all accounts, was a good person. In the case of Saint Teresa of Calcutta, now she, like as I said, she was a living saint. She went into the slums of India. She took care of the dying, the sick, the poor. She wasn't there to necessarily proselytize and try to convert people over to the Catholic faith, but she was there to just be a good example and to live her faith out as best as she could. And by setting this good example, brought many souls back to her. But more than that, she also did a lot of really good work and was a really good example to how we ourselves should be whenever we perform charity, whenever we do good works for other human beings. And yet, the left hates her for it. Why? Well, two reasons. One, it pokes a giant hole into their whole thing that you can be secular and somehow still maintain a good charitable lifestyle. And the truth is that that when you go that route, when you're secularized and you try to be charitable, it comes off as really hollow, because there's nothing there other than, oh, I'm just doing this for the betterment of myself, to make myself feel good. That's really what the secularization comes down to. It's not so much a, I'm doing this because the love of fellow man, or because it's the right thing to do. It ultimately comes down to, oh, I'm doing this because it just feels good, and I feel better about myself by helping out for it. But if you go there with a sense of faith, a sense of belief in God, that these are my brothers, these are my sisters, and the idea is then that this isn't all about me. This is about doing what's right. This is about realizing that I am just a small pebble in in the river of life, but my actions can help a great many other little pebbles that are in the same bed as well. And the second thing they do not like about her is that she was openly pro-life. And if you guys can ever find the video of her talking back, was it 94? I can't remember when, but it was when Bill and Hillary were in the White House the first time, and she was invited to give a speech at the National Prayer Breakfast, and she excoriated the culture of death, the pro-abortion people, the Planned Parenthood. And she got a standing ovation for it, with the exception of Bill and Hillary, and I think Gore, yeah, Al Gore and his wife. Yeah, screw those people. But they do not like her because she was openly pro-life, and she spoke out against the violence in the womb, against the slaughter of the innocents. And so, again, it just amazes me that anyone could truly hate this saintly woman who offered so much to help out the poorest of the poor in our world, and tried to be a good example of how we should act towards our fellow brother and sister. But that aside, glad to see that there's another recognized saint in heaven, Saint Teresa of Calcutta. Pray for us and hopefully help inspire us to be good stewards of the gifts that we have, that to help the poorest of the poor in their time of need as well. Now, that's out of the way. Let's go to the second biggest topic of the week, and that being Trump's immigration plan. This, ladies and gentlemen, as I stated in my last vlog, was going to. A lot of people are misinterpreting what he was saying, what he had said in the last couple of weeks about his immigration plan. I said that this was going to define once and for all, what he was going to, where he stood, and I believe that it was going to confirm that what he had said before was still held true, and I was right. I was right in that what he had said before still held true. He was just rewording it to make it sound more political, not politically correct, political, because he's not rebranding himself. But now that he's gone into the general election, he's appealing to a broader audience. He's got to say things that appeal to the general masses that aren't necessarily conservative or Republican. And so this immigration plan did all that. And if you missed it, go pull it up. Amazing speech. Just the entire time I was listening, I was live tweeting. So if you missed my tweets on it, well, actually, I couldn't really do too much with the live tweets because you can't really put emotion into it. But I was excited by what I was hearing from there. He laid out a 10-point plan, a 10-point immigration plan, and it is truly, truly just amazing. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Donald Trump's immigration plan, part 1. Build a Great Wall along the southern border. Mexico still paying for it. Great. He's sticking to what he said before. He's not abandoning his dance partner, what got him to the dance floor in the first place, which is truly admirable. He's not trying to be a sneaky, deceiving politician in saying one thing in the primaries and then trying to, quote unquote, change his tone and say, oh, well, no, I didn't really mean that back then. No, he's still going to build the wall, and Mexico's going to pay for it. Now, how is he going to pay for it? He went into a little detail in his speech there about it, but if you really want to know how he intends to pay for it, he actually has up on his website a couple ideas of how he's going to do it. And one of them being that the money that is being sent back by the Mexican residents, but also by all the other immigrants, illegal and otherwise, that come into this country, and then they wire money back home to their families from us. That money, to the tune of, I think, like for Mexico alone, is something like $24 billion, I think it is. I mean, it's a crazy amount of money that gets wired back to these foreign countries. Well, he's going to tax that, and the money that he gets from the taxes is going to go to pay for the wall. Now, you figure that even if he were to tax, say, 5% on 24 billion, then that's still, let's see here, 10% of that would be 2.4 billion. So 5% of that would be like 1.2 billion. I mean, 1.2 billion. That's still a crazy amount of money that we would be getting back into the coffers. You do that for a few years, and pretty much you'd be able to pay off that wall. But plan B would be that, Mexico's obviously going to protest, because if you start taxing things, generally people start or stop using them or try to find ways around them. Well, Mexico, seeing that they would lose out the money, would of course protest, in which case Donald Trump's plan B is that, okay, fine, well, for a small donation of 5 to 10 billion there to help us pay for the wall, we won't enact these taxes. I mean, come on, folks. This is a brilliant business move right here. This is called getting your opponent by the balls, because you know that they need this money coming back home. Mexico doesn't have Social Security. It doesn't have a lot of the pension or welfare plans that the elderly, the sick, and so forth can take advantage of. So these family members that come over here and they work and they send money back, they're going to help it's going to help their families that are elderly, that are sick, that can't work, and so by taking advantage of this, and no, this is not a heartless thing to do. It's actually, when you think about it, it's more reflection on the true state of Mexico and just how bad their economy is, that they have to rely on so much money coming from the neighbor to the north there. It's a indictment on the corruption and the feckless leadership that runs that country, more than it is on the fact that Trump is just exploiting a weakness in their plans. And to be also perfectly honest here, it is a greater immorality that they send all their undesirables, their criminals and so forth over to here for us to take care of at our expense than it is for them to take care of. And so, no, I don't feel sorry for taxing these people or forcing Mexico to pay for the wall that way. There was another plan on there, and I can't remember it off the top of my head, but go check it out. It's on Donald Trump's website, and it definitely makes for good reading here. Moving on. Donald Trump's immigration plan number 2: end, catch, and release. Good. We should not be catching these people at the border or coming across the border or wherever we catch them, and then say, okay, well, we've got your name and number down, and just here's a court summons. You show up in 3 weeks to this immigration court, and we'll decide then. And then these people disappear off into God knows where, never to be seen again, because, perfectly honest, who the hell is going to go to court if you can somehow avoid it? Just the stupidity of this administration, and not just that, but the left as a whole. Actually, it's not stupidity; it's by design. But again, I need to stay on topic here. We end, catch, and released. No more. You are going to show up in this court date, and we just let them go. No, you get caught, you're getting detained, and you're getting deported. Great. Trump's immigration plan number 3: zero tolerance for alien criminals. Thank you. It is time that we put our American citizens at the forefront. We put them first. Why should we cater to these criminals who come over here, murder, rape, steal, and on and on and on? You know that down in Texas, the number of murders, rapes, and all the criminal activity that have occurred as a result of illegal aliens is in like hundreds of thousands every year. That's insane. That's one state. Imagine what it's like all over this country. How many lives have been affected because these people have been, caught and released, or they get deported and then they come right back over because our borders are so porous. It's truly sad that our system is allowing these monsters to just come back again and again and again when they should be deported or they should be incarcerated for good. Anyway, Trump's plan number 4: block funding for sanctuary cities. Again, why the hell should we be supporting cities that don't support the law? Which is, you find an illegal immigrant, you detain them, you report them to ICE or to some of the other federal agencies. They come, they process, they take them, and then they deport them. Enough of hiding these people. Number 5, no amnesty. Enforce the laws. Illegal entry is subject to deportation. I said it before. Trump was not calling for amnesty, and I was proven right. He said, we will follow the laws. We're going to enforce the laws that we have on the books. That means that the dreamers, those that have been in the country for 20 years, those that overstayed, doesn't matter. If you're here illegally and you get caught, you're going home. Now, some people wanted him to go a step further and say he was going to build a task force that was going to go around and to be honest, that's not a winning argument, especially in the general election, because the left is just going to take that and they're going to say, oh, Trump is now turning the federal government into the Gestapo. They're going to come in the dead of night to take your children, like they took the Jews to the concentration camps. Invoking Godwin's law once again, but I mean, it's what they do, okay? Trump is Hitler in their eyes. But what but by saying that we are going to enforce the laws, what Trump is saying in essence is that it doesn't matter who gets them, local, state, federal, it doesn't matter who catches them, that everybody is going to follow the laws on every level. So really, you don't need a quote-unquote task force to go out and round up these people, go knocking door to doors. You just rely on the local forces in doing their jobs. They stop someone during a traffic stop and find out, oh, you're here illegally. Or they get a call from a neighbor saying, hey, we got a disturbance in this house. They go there and they find, oh, it's a freaking den of illegals. Okay, well, we're calling ICE. I mean, that's how you're going to do this. And then at the same time, well, in other ways throughout his immigration plan that I believe will help deter illegal immigration and help force people to move back. Anyway, Trump immigration plan number 6. Stop giving visas to countries with terrorist activities. Good. We should not be letting people coming in, I mean, granted here, okay, he didn't come out and say we're banning all Muslims like he had said before, and everybody's just like, you can't do that. That's not constitutional. Actually, it is constitutional. The president has the right and the duty and the obligation to only let in people that have our best interests in mind, and Trump's been expertly advocating and spelling that out. But again, that's another side here. So he stayed off the Muslim hot button, but he did say countries with terrorist activity, okay? That is pretty much all of the Muslim world, but it also includes other areas where you have like cartel violence and so on and so forth, which, okay, good. You're making it more general, so you're not just focusing on one subset, one group. You're making it so that it's more it has a more broad appeal, a broader reach, and that, I believe, is going to play better than just saying we're going to ban all Muslims in the general election. Trump immigration plan number 7. Countries will take people back that we deport. No more we hold on to them, we pay for them out of our own pocket. We're sending them back, and their countries get to deal with them. Now, I'd be curious to see how this is going to play out with, like, say, violent criminals that are over here. Do they start out the sentence here and then we send them back? Or do we hold them here and then we charge that country, however much it is to hold one of their citizens until they're done? In all honesty, I'm good with either plan, just so long as justice is served and these people are removed from our society. Trump immigration plan number 8, complete biometric entry-exit system. This has been something that we desperately, desperately need. And to give you an example of just how bad our immigration system is here. When I was still active, our ship pulled into Australia, and it was at that time that I just so happened to be transferring to my next command. So when I stopped off in Australia, I decided I was going to take 2.5 weeks of vacation time in that country and just have the time of my life. And I did. It was awesome. Anyway, I got stopped a number of times at airports and other transportation terminals because I did not have an entry stamp on my passport coming in. And so it took them a few extra minutes of questioning me, how did you get into this country? And then I would have to show them my military ID, my U.S. military ID, and then explain to them, hey, my ship pulled in the port. It pulled in Brisbane, Australia. I'm transferring, but I decided I wanted to take some time to see a great country. And so when we got off, there was no immigration officials there to greet us. And that's kind of standard protocol with being in the Navy, that whenever you go into these foreign ports, once you step off, it's kind of like if anyone's ever been to a cruise ship on a cruise on a cruise ship, if you step off into a foreign country, there's no foreign wait line. There's no get your passport stamped to be able to come into the country or not. It's just you go there, you spend the day, however long the cruise ship's in port, and then you get out and you head back out to sea and you go to the next location. That's how it is with the Navy. So the Australians had a more strict, more rigid immigration system than we do. And that's exactly the kind of thing that we need here in the United States. We need to be able to, say to people that are getting on flights, like, hey, I don't see an entry stamp here when you came in. Why? How did you get here? And how did you get this passport? So that's, and then at the same time, the fact that you're adding in the quote unquote biometric entry and exit systems now you have a means by which to say, okay, you're coming in this date here, you are expected to be out in 3 weeks, however long your visa is going to last, and if they don't, then you're able to go after them and forcibly remove them from the country, which is good. We need to keep people accountable. We need to keep them from stop overstaying the country. I mean, I think that is the highest way that people are coming into this country illegally, is that they're overstaying their visas. But I mean, the border is like a close second, if I remember the stats correctly. I could be wrong, so don't entirely quote me on it. If I am wrong, please do not hate me for it. Please just gently correct me on this. I'm trying to go off of memory here. Anyway, Trump's immigration plan number 9. Use E-Verify to make sure illegals don't take American jobs. Trump has been advocating hard for the fact that these illegal immigrants come over and they take jobs from not just white America, but all of America, minority, black, legal Hispanics, and so forth here. And they do, because it's easier to hire somebody for a day and pay them under the table, where you don't have to record it on your taxes, than it is to have to hire an American and go through all the employee, the what the hell is it called? I should know this because I just started my business. I just started an LLC, and all the stuff I got sent from them, but all the employment laws that they have to go through just to hire Americans and keep them paying the taxes they have to pay, and the medical and the health care, and just, again, it's easier and cheaper for companies to hire illegals than it is Americans. And that puts Americans at a great disadvantage, because now they're losing out jobs they should be getting themselves. But more importantly, they're also having the work less to be able to compete with this illegal workforce. And so by Trump spelling this out, saying that we are putting Americans first, it's great that he continues to show that he cares more about America than he cares about being a globalist like Obama and Hillary. And finally, Trump immigration plan number 10. Put American workers first by renegotiating trade deals and bring jobs home. This could easily fall into his economic plan, but I think he made a good choice in putting this also here, because it ties into the whole using E-Verify to make sure illegals don't take American jobs. Because why are companies giving it to illegals? As I said before, it's because it's cheaper to hire illegals than it is to hire Americans. Well, why is that? Well, because our trade deals make it easier for companies to ship jobs overseas. Our trade deals make it so that American products can't really sell overseas at a competitive price. So what's the point in making products here in America if they're not going to sell? If not going to sell for a profit anywhere else in the world, and that puts our workers at a disadvantage, because if the products aren't selling, then the company's not making a profit, and the company's not making a profit, then why the hell are they having that dead weight on? Companies are in the business of making a profit. If they're not making a profit, if they're not growing, they're dying, and if they're dying, then that's going to affect a hell of a lot more people than by saying, you know what, in order for us to succeed, we're going to have to cut these workers in America that are just costing us too much, and you just focus more on our international products. And so Trump is hitting on the fact that this whole illegal immigration and using them for work is tied into the fact that it is very costly to hire Americans, but also to sell products, sell our made in America products overseas, and that has to end if we're ever going to be a competitive manufacturing base or work base or anything like that. We have to ensure that whatever products that we make here in America are allowed to be sold elsewhere in the world. So Trump had a just outstanding speech that night. And I loved the fact that he not only hit on these points, but he talked about bringing back assimilation. That if you come to America, you come to be American. You don't come to live in your own little subsets and groups, separate from the rest of the country. You come to learn the language, to support the Constitution, and to be an American. Just an all around. Again, I cannot give this speech as much praise as I would like to. And this comes off the heels of an amazing week he had last week. And moving into the typical starting point of most of prior campaigns, Labor Day weekend is kind of held as the kickoff of the general election campaign. This is a little different because I forgot why the conventions moved it back. Oh no, that's right. They moved it back because the Olympics were going on last month and they didn't want to compete with the Olympics. So they moved it back to July before the Olympics so they could have full media attention and coverage on on their messages and so forth. So this is a little unusual than some of the previous political campaign or presidential campaigns. But what we are seeing is a interesting dynamic and shift. The first few weeks after the Republican convention, everybody was saying that Trump is done for. He got his bounce, but the next week was the DNC, and then Hillary got her bounce, and that's it. She's done. She's won it. It's over. But in the weeks since then, Hillary's bounce has shrunk to not just her pre-DNC levels, but even below that in some polls. Trump is narrowing her lead, tying her, or in some cases even leading her in the polls, all in the span of 2 weeks. And why I believe that this is happening is because Trump is outperforming her on the national stage. Hillary's strategy right now is go into hiding and wait this out because it's a quote-unquote foregone conclusion that Democrats will always win the presidential election because the Electoral College is such in their favor because they have states like New York and California in their pocket, and all they need is like one or two states to basically get 270 electoral votes, and the election is theirs. And she's also in hiding because every time she comes out and speaks, every time she comes out and gives a message, more and more people realize that she's full of it and she's nothing but a damn liar, and her favorability and her overall electability numbers go down. So by hiding, though, she has greatly opened herself up to the fact that she's not getting out into the public eye as much. She's holding fundraisers with the elitist in Hollywood and the Hamptons and so forth, and she's raking in all this sorts of money, and then she puts that out through ads and campaign workings, and then the media is her campaign spokesperson, and they're trumpeting her and they're telling America that, oh yeah, she's a great president, she's qualified. I mean, you got these stupid sycophants going on and on and on about, oh, she was never charged by the FBI. There's no, I mean, it's just sick to listen to these people. But Americans are wising up to this because they're seeing Trump out there almost every day of the week busting his hump off. when I mentioned in my last vlog, Louisiana, Trump went down there first before Obama, before Hillary. Obama and Hillary were vacationing off in the Hamptons and Martha's Vineyard. And what did Trump do? He brought a semi full of food, water, blankets, toys for the kiddies. All right, and he stood outside of the semi and he helped hoist all that stuff in a chain, moving supplies off the truck and into the lives of the people there. And they went and actually talked to the people and gave them hope that you're going to rebuild. It's going to be better than before. And then Obama came, Johnny come lately, and tried to say that tried to sound presidential down there, but really just came off looking like a complete fool because, again, he arrived too late. He should have been there before Trump got there. Trump's not even president, and he out-presidented the president. And of course, Hillary with her tweet, "Oh, I called the governor, and we're getting regular updates on the situation. I can't be bothered by you dregs down there in Louisiana. I hope you'll drown because you'll never vote for me." And then you had this week where the president of Mexico, Pinata, whatever his name is, uh, he invited both Trump and Hillary to come down to discuss immigration, the wall, and so on and so forth. And only Trump went down there. And of course, the media and Hillary and all the rest on the left immediately were up in arms. How he can't. His whole thing was a flop, and his whole message down there. I mean, he just did not. This is not presidential. Just how could he? I mean, oh God, I hate listening to these people. It gives me a headache just trying to. It's like trying to make sense of the unsensical. It can't be done. It just cannot be done. So instead, I watched the actual press conference of the Mexican president and Trump, and I have to say that the people that Trump has brought on, Bannon, Kelly Conway, and now some guy called Bossy, I don't remember what his forte was again, but he's now another deputy manager of the campaign. That team is kicking ass in terms of making Trump, taking Trump from the brash, braggadocious, um, buffoon is not the right word, but I mean that's the media perception of him, that he was a buffoon, even though I don't consider him to be one, but that was his perception. But they're taking him from that brash, braggadocious buffoon and turning him into a understanding, soft-spoken, yet firm presidential type. And it played off extremely well against the Mexican president. Anybody that watches that speech and you listen to the graciousness of Trump as he's talking about Mexico and the Mexican people and answering questions from the reporters there, it's amazing just how dignified and diplomatic he sounded in like the 20 minutes that where he spoke. And then you also had this week as well, Trump going into Detroit, the heart of the Lion's Den, as some of the media, some of the talk shows, the radio talk shows were calling it, and he met with a black congregation and talked and listened with them about the problems in their community. And again, this is another one where the media is like, how dare he go after the black? He can't do that. He's just pandering to that. He's nothing but a racist, and using all the typical leftist playbook options, which are fast becoming not only apparent, but are wearing the American public's patience thin, in my opinion. And anybody that watched what happened with him and this congregation this week will see that he was very humble, very gracious for being invited and for talking to them. And then the few key things he said there. First thing was that I'm here to listen to you. What does that mean exactly? Well, I've said before that a good leader listens to the people underneath them. A good leader doesn't necessarily know how to fix the problem by himself, but he listens to the people that are on the ground that have the requisite knowledge of the situation, and by listening to them, he's able to maybe find a solution that they may not have been able to find before, or be able to tell them, okay, this is what you got to do. And so by coming there and saying that I'm here to listen to you, it's not juxtapose that with Hillary Clinton's alt right wing conspiracy speech that she came out, where she's essentially trying to scare people to stay onto the leftist plantation. He's opening himself up to the black community, and he's offering himself as a means for them to address their grievances from this society. Now, you could argue the argument about whether or not the blacks have anything to really make grievances for is not going to be the focus of this blog, and I am not going to make that here for the purposes of time. But what I am going to point out is that Trump coming to their community and opening himself up to them to say that I am listening to you, he's giving them a better option. He's giving them the opportunity to finally look and say, we've been with the Democrats for how many years, and they don't listen to us. We still have the same problems, the same issues, and yet things aren't getting better. They keep telling us that vote for us and things will get better, but they never get better. But here's Trump, who not only is, listing out a plan that he has to help us, but he's also willing to listen to us to get our feedback and input, and so that he can make a better decision to help us. That is going to resonate greatly with the black community. And as I again said in my last blog, you saw in 1 week span after Trump made the whole "what do you got to lose" speech, the black support for him going up like 4 or 5 different times within a week. I don't know if this is going to have an instant effect on the polls or not, but I do know it is going to have an effect, and it's going to have a positive effect for Donald Trump. The second thing he said in that speech, the second thing of noteworthiness in that speech, was that his speech took a very Christian resonation within it, and if you listen to it, he sounded like a man that had faith, a man that contemplated the Bible and the passages and so forth. And he was able to recite correctly, 1 John to the audience. And some will go and say, well, he's not really Christian. I mean, he's lived a life of sin his entire life, and now he just comes out and we're just supposed to say, oh, well, all's good now. No. I'm not saying that. I can't look into the guy's heart and tell you for 100% certain that he is or is not a true Christian, or if he's just using it as a political game. But I can tell you that he's not using it the same way Hillary is. Hillary is a complete and utter hypocrite, 100%. Okay? Trump, I believe, is a flawed man. Trump is someone that maybe has a basic understanding of the Christian tenets, and he could recite maybe or could remember a few Bible passages, but I don't believe he's ever been somebody that took his faith as seriously as he should have. He comes off to me more as a General Patton, in that General Patton had a faith in God and his and believed what was in the Bible, but then he also had some of his own goofy ideas about how he believed that he was one of the disciples of Jesus, and he believed that his relationship with God was unique, and it was an interesting character. He comes off more like that than I would say a true full-blown Bible thumping Christian. But you know what? That's fine, because it's still a hell of a lot better than Hillary Clinton. I mean, you look at the two. You look at the two sides there. Trump is pro-life. He signed an anti-porn pledge, within the last week. I think it was last week. And he's also said he would defend religious liberty and freedom, including the Christian churches. Hillary is the complete opposite of that. So, in terms of who acts more Christian and who actually puts their money where their mouth is, Trump's got her beat on that. And this speech drew more attention to that aspect. And that's going to help him with not just the black churches, but it's also going to help him with the evangelicals, I believe. So, where do we go from here? What's the next step in the battle of this presidency? I think Trump has the momentum right now, and I think if he were to spend the next few weeks leading up to the presidential debate, the first presidential debate, going around maintaining his exposure, calling out Hillary Clinton, and try to draw her out as much as possible, I believe that he'll garner a lot of support, a lot more support that will help him in the general election. I think that I think his true test, though, with the general public is going to be those presidential debates. And I guarantee you're going to see tens of millions of people watching those debates with intensity. And to the point that Hillary is continuing to hide, she is not making her presence known, and that's furthering the specter of, okay, does she have health issues? Does she have, what's going on there? Why is she not being, why is she not being so present? And then when she does show up, she talks for this amount of time, and then she has to go sit on a stool, or she has to have someone prop her up. I mean, that's going to further the questions about her health, and then the fact that you keep having leaks about what's coming out on her emails. I mean, the FBI just unloaded on her this week again with more stuff that they found, especially with regards to Benghazi. It's just it's the dead horse that just won't stay dead. There's no way to beat it to death again. This is going to hang around her neck like a dead albatross the whole rest of the campaign. And Trump is going to use that to his advantage, I believe, greatly. And then the last vlog talked about Julian Assange and his little October surprise, which I'm sure he's going to release, even if they somehow kill him, which is still a possibility. They could get to him, but I'm pretty sure he has some sort of failsafe where if something were to happen to him, those files still end up getting released regardless. So I believe that where Trump is standing right now, he still has a lot of work ahead of him, because it's pretty much Donald Trump versus the world. He's got the entire globalist elite from the establishment, the institutions, the academia, all the places the left has turned and corrupted against him. Yet his message is still getting out to the people. And as long as he stays on message, he continues to look presidential. He continues to look like he's a statesman, a diplomat, even though we all know that he's not. He's a businessman, but it's that perception. Again, truth is 99% perception for people. It's sad, but it's unfortunately the truth. A lot of people don't bother to dig deep enough to be able to find the truth behind the old truths and to see what exactly is going on. So Trump has to behave himself and make himself to look as presidential and stately as possible. At the same time, he needs to get Hillary to come out of her hole. And he can do this, and he did do this when he got her to come out for the alt-right speech. He needs to continue to needle her in her weak spots over and over and over again and force her to come back out of her hiding hole. It's not going to be enough for the debates, although I would be very, very interested in seeing how she handles this, because those are going to go a lot longer than what she usually does. She's probably going to be over-medicated as hell just so she can withstand it, but I'm wondering just how that's going to affect her in the short term or long term. If people were to pick up on the fact that what the hell is up with her? She looks like she's doped up out of her mind. Of course, then she goes to play it off like, well, I'm smoking medical marijuana and I'm an advocate of it. I don't know if that would actually help her out at all. Anyway, the point though is that there's still a very, very long road ahead for Donald Trump. Hillary and her campaign and some of her sycophants in the media are saying that, oh, the race is over and she can basically just run out the clock. Trump, thankfully, is not a Mitt Romney or a John McCain in that he is going out and he's pressing the flesh. He's making himself as vocal and present as possible. I would say that if there's one area that he needs to definitely work on, it's got to be his ground game. He's got to get people. He's got to get offices and people out knocking on doors in these states. Now, there are people volunteering to do this on their own time. In fact, I just read an article that there's people in California doing this, going around and knocking on the doors of the people in the neighborhood there, trying to get out support for Trump and trying to convince people to vote for Trump this election. I don't think California is ever going to get put into play, unfortunately. I think that state is too far gone to be saved. But if we can get people in, say, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Florida, Virginia, and all the rest to do so, I believe that we will see Trump's chances increasing greatly of taking those states. I mean, we're already seeing that. As I said before, Hillary's lead has been diminishing since her time at the DNC. Virginia now is within like 1 point from the last time I checked Road Clear Politics. North Carolina is within 0.5 points of Trump overtaking or tying Hillary Clinton. Florida, there's one poll that says that he's down like 2 points, but there's another one that says he's up by 3. So it's not over, folks. This right now is anybody's race. Although we need to hope and pray that Donald Trump wins in the end. And I do think that there is a good chance that he will win in the end. But we have to overwhelm the ballot system. We have to basically come out en masse and just overwhelm so that there's no way that they can effectively cheat the Democrats. Anyway, it's Labor Day. I am not going to be talking too much longer on this blog. It's time to relax, to have spend time with your family. So I would encourage everybody here to have a good weekend and stay safe. Don't do anything stupid. And I will see you next week on the next Athanasius Report. Take care. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. Like this video if you can, spread it around. And also find me on Twitter at Athanasius Rep. You can also find me on Facebook. Still working on the new website, trying to get that finished up, and hopefully I'll be able to get that soon. I'm also waiting to hear back from a new social media site called Gab that will compete with Twitter and will actually be a free speech forum, not like what Twitter is doing and Facebook and all these others where they're censoring conservative media, again, because they're in the bag for Hillary Clinton. I mean, Google's silencing anybody trying to put out Hillary Clinton's medical records on their search engines there. Sorry. Aside here, I'm going to shut up now. Have a great weekend, folks. Like, subscribe, and I will talk to you next week. Take care. God bless. Christ's peace upon you all.